The cicadas droned outside the open window of the modest two-story colonial in Raleigh, North Carolina. Warm summer air crept into the kitchen, carrying the faint smell of honeysuckle from the backyard. Daniel Whitmore sat at the table, his hands wrapped around a cooling mug of black coffee, staring at the condensation rolling lazily down the side of his wife's untouched glass of orange juice. It was Saturday morning, normally a time of laughter, pancakes, and the easy rhythm of domestic life. Yet the silence in the room stretched taut, as if something unseen pressed against both of them. Claire moved about the kitchen with an unusual nervousness, her auburn hair pulled back too tightly, strands escaping near her temple. She wore a pale blue sundress Daniel hadn't seen in years. It clung to her in ways that seemed intentional, as though she had dressed for someone else. "You're up early," Daniel said finally, breaking the quiet. His voice was steady, but beneath it ran a current of suspicion. Claire glanced at the clock and forced a smile. "I couldn't sleep. Thought I'd get some errands done before the stores get crowded." Daniel studied her, the faint smudge of mascara beneath her eyes, the way she avoided meeting his gaze. She had been distant for weeks, smiling at him less, pulling away when he reached for her hand in bed. He had chalked it up to stress from her job at the marketing firm downtown, but something in his gut whispered otherwise. And now, watching her fuss with the strap of her dress and check her phone twice in under a minute, that whisper turned into something heavier. "Where exactly are you going?" he asked. "Target. Maybe the farmer's market if I have time." Her answer was too rehearsed. Daniel nodded, forcing calm. "Want me to come with you?" Her hand froze on the strap of her purse. Just a beat too long. Then, "No, it's fine. You should relax today. You've been working so hard." It was the wrong thing to say. She never minded his company on errands before. If anything, she used to beg him to come along just so they could spend more time together. The silence returned, thicker than before. Daniel worked as a project manager for a construction company, a steady job that kept him busy but home most evenings. He and Claire had been married for 12 years, high school sweethearts who had weathered college, tight budgets, and the long grind of early adulthood together. But lately, it felt as though he was living with a stranger. He began noticing small things. Claire working late more often, though her office usually closed at 5. Her laughter on the phone, hushed when he entered the room. A new perfume lingering on her skin, floral, sharp, not one he had bought her. And then there were the absences, girls' nights with friends he never saw, weekend errands that stretched into hours. Daniel tried to brush it aside. Maybe she was simply going through something, a midlife itch, the stress of never having had kids, the endless grind of modern marriage. He wanted to believe that. But suspicion, once planted, grows like kudzu. One humid Thursday evening, Daniel decided not to go straight home after work. Instead, he parked across the street from Claire's office building downtown, waiting. At 5:20, he saw her exit, not alone, but with a man. Tall, broad-shouldered, his hair silver at the temples. Claire's face lit up with the kind of smile Daniel hadn't seen in months. They didn't hold hands, but the intimacy was undeniable in the way she leaned toward him, the way his hand brushed her back as they crossed the street. They disappeared into a small bistro, its windows glowing warmly against the dusky sky. Daniel sat frozen, his hands gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles whitened. His chest felt like it was being crushed. He couldn't make himself move. When Claire came home hours later, she smelled faintly of wine. She kissed him on the cheek, casual, distant. "Sorry I'm late. Team dinner." He stared at her, nodding, his heart screaming inside his chest. The next days passed in a blur of rehearsed lies and forced normalcy. Daniel couldn't bring himself to confront her, not yet. He needed proof. He needed to be sure. He began checking her phone when she showered, but she had locked it with a passcode. He considered hiring a private investigator, even Googled a few local names, but stopped himself. That felt like crossing a line. One night, lying awake beside her, he whispered into the dark, "Who are you anymore?" Claire shifted in her sleep, turning away from him. The truth came crashing down on a rainy Friday. Daniel left work early under the pretense of illness. Driving home through the slick streets, he passed by the Marriott near downtown, and there, in the parking lot, he saw her car. His pulse thundered. Without thinking, he pulled in, heart pounding, and climbed the carpeted stairs to the second floor. Room 214. He didn't know how he knew, but he did. The door wasn't fully closed. Through the crack, he saw Claire, her hair spilling over bare shoulders, laughing softly as the silver-haired man kissed her neck. Daniel staggered back, bile rising in his throat. His vision blurred, his chest burning with a rage he'd never known. He didn't burst in. Didn't scream. He simply walked away, his shoes heavy against the patterned carpet, his heart splintering with every step. That night, Claire returned home at midnight. Her hair was damp from the rain, her cheeks flushed. Daniel was waiting in the living room, the lights dimmed. "Did you have fun?" he asked, voice quiet, almost too calm. She froze, her purse dangling from her hand. "What do you mean?" "I mean," he said, rising slowly, "how was the Marriott?" The color drained from her face. Her lips parted, but no words came. "Don't lie to me, Claire." "Not anymore." His voice cracked, raw. "I saw you. I saw him." Tears welled in her eyes. "Daniel, Who is he?" She hesitated, then whispered, "His name is Richard. He works with me." Daniel felt something inside him shatter. "How long?" Her silence was the only answer he needed. The days that followed were chaos. Claire confessed in fragments, between sobs and desperate pleas. It had been going on for months. She claimed she still loved Daniel, that she had been confused, lonely, unfulfilled. But Daniel couldn't hear it. Every word felt like another knife. Friends noticed. Neighbors whispered. The perfect couple at the end of Oakwood Avenue had crumbled, their foundation rotted from within. One night, drunk on bourbon and rage, Daniel hurled a photo frame against the wall, their wedding picture, shattered glass glittering on the hardwood. "You threw us away," he whispered, voice hoarse. "For what?" Divorce papers came swiftly, though Daniel filed them with hands that trembled. But anger burned hotter than grief, and revenge coiled inside him. He learned that Richard was married too, with a wife and 2 children in Cary. The knowledge became a weapon. One afternoon, Daniel drove to Richard's suburban home, parked discreetly, and slipped an envelope into the mailbox. Inside, photographs he had taken after hiring that private investigator after all. Proof of Claire and Richard tangled together in betrayal. The fallout was swift. Richard's wife filed for divorce, his career at the firm crumbled under scandal. Claire confronted Daniel, her face streaked with fury and tears. "You ruined his life." Daniel stared at her, unflinching. "Good. Now you know how it feels." By autumn, the house on Oakwood was empty. Daniel moved into a small apartment overlooking the city skyline, its silence heavy but clean. Claire left Raleigh altogether, vanishing into another city, another life. Sometimes, late at night, Daniel stood on his balcony, the hum of traffic below, the air sharp with the smell of pine and asphalt. He wondered if revenge had healed anything, or if it had simply hollowed him further. But one truth remained unshakable: the woman he had loved was gone long before he ever opened that hotel door. And there was no going back.